The first juror from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial is speaking out about the case. On Good Morning America on ABC this morning, they reported that a juror, who was one of the 5 men on the 7-person jury, spoke to ABC about the verdict, plus Amber and Johnny's testimony. This male juror did not want to be identified, so they were just quotes. The juror told ABC, quote, "A lot of Amber's story didn't add up. The majority of the jury felt she was more the aggressor. The crying, the facial expressions that she had, the staring at the jury, all of us were very uncomfortable. She would answer one question and she would be crying, and 2 seconds later, she'd turn ice cold. Some of us used the expression crocodile tears." When asked about Johnny Depp's testimony, the juror said, quote, "A lot of the jury felt that he was saying, at the end of the day, what he was saying was more believable. He just seemed a little more real in terms of how he was responding to questions. His emotional state was very stable throughout." Jenny Alcati and Melissa Redmond still with us. Jenny, do you on this first? This is just the worst case scenario for Amber Heard and the defense team. It's basically what a lot of people have been saying, but through her interviews afterwards and through the interviews that the defense team has done, they've all blamed it on social media, and this was the Johnny Depp crew, that they've just poisoned everything. Well, this is the juror saying the same thing. We didn't believe her. Your thoughts, and if you were representing Amber Heard, this would not be the news you'd want to hear from one of the jurors.
Absolutely. I mean, this case in general, I just feel as though it's the gift that keeps on giving. There's always something that's been happening with it. It's just been going on for so long. But nonetheless, I definitely think that if I was Amber Heard's team, I would not be happy right now, because it's just interesting that Amber went on so many TV shows right now and has been saying she doesn't blame the jury. She, believes that Johnny is more famous, that how could you not believe him? He's just so likable by everybody. But, at the end of the day, if your testimony was not convincing to a jury, or they didn't believe you, there were inconsistencies, and this is a juror that's stating that is how we all felt. We just felt it wasn't genuine. It's not something that you can act or fake trauma. It's not. It has nothing to do with social media. It has nothing to do with his social status. Nothing. So it's just a failed argument for her, and just another reason for her to want to bring an appeal.
Yeah, and the cringe factor that he said that the jurors felt sitting next to her while she was telling the story, that to me is like, oof, bad. Also, he called the fact that Amber Heard hasn't donated all of the divorce settlement to charity a, quote, fiasco for her. He went on to say to Good Morning America, "She goes on a talk show in the UK. The video shows her sitting there telling the host she gave all that money away, and the terms she used in that video clip were, 'I gave it away, I donated it, it's gone.' But the fact is, she didn't give much of it away at all." And Melissa, that another sticking point. There is a sense that, when you listen to Ben Chu talk, he did an interview with our Chanley Painter, and you got the feeling that the Depp side was kind of leaning towards, all right, we're not going to bleed her for $8 million that she doesn't have. That, at this point, let's just move on. Let's go. But boy, her interviews, the continued bashing away by this defense to claim that this is all Johnny's fault and blah blah blah. This might backfire on them. And if you're on this team, if you were representing Amber Heard, wouldn't you be just tucking your tail in and getting out of here and making some phone calls to Johnny's team and saying, just let's quit, because she's losing, and every day she's losing by more, it seems, Melissa.
Yeah. At some point, you want to do, like, even she testified in her rebuttal case, like, I just want to move on. I just want to be left alone. And she's doing the exact opposite. And she's kind of going on this tour, like, believe me tour, believe me, when the jury has said very loud and clear, we did not believe you. And what happened in that marriage, we don't know. It was obviously tumultuous. It was obviously traumatic, obviously violent. But the jury, the trier of fact, has determined that her version of events was just not believable. And at that point, you do need to move on, and you do want to try to salvage what's left of your career and kind of put this behind you. And so I don't think she's doing herself any favors. And the fact that this particular juror has come out to say very blatantly, you know, we just don't believe you. in contrast to Blake, Johnny Depp machine, that's not what happened here. We just didn't believe you. And you got caught in way too many lies to be believable. And I think at that point, you just do have to cry uncle and just move on. And that we hope that's what's going to happen, but I don't think that's what's going to happen at all.
Yeah, cry uncle. Jenny, your thoughts in terms of appeal versus the white flag?
I think she should just give up. Absolutely. Just what Melissa said. She just should give up. At this point, it's just you're trying too hard. The jury has spoken. Using that UK win is not really going to do her any good, I don't think. I think at this point, she's just digging herself in a deeper hole. I think she's trying so hard to at least salvage her career, but she's doing more harm than good. She should just put it behind her and just move on with her life, as she said she wanted to do, and she's not.
The juror, a male juror, also told ABC's Good Morning America, what I think is truthful was that they were both abusive to each other. I don't think that makes either one of them right or wrong, but to rise to the level of what she was claiming, there wasn't enough or any evidence that really supports what she was saying. And Melissa, a lot of people watched this trial and said, oh gosh, I hope the jury gives them zero, both zero. This was a display of an abusive relationship. And to that point, this juror seems to also concur that this was just a mess, or C.K. Hoffler says a hot mess. And then you have to look at, well, what went wrong? And it really was Amber on the stand, right?
Absolutely. Because like I said, they have to determine what and who they believe. And so if you have someone who gets on television and says, I gave away $7 million, and then in the courtroom says, I didn't give any of it away, other people donated on my behalf, that's a big lie. And that's going to impact the jury. And you couple that with all of the other inconsistencies they heard, and it just, you can't make your case that he was the abuser, that he was a wife beater, that you were a survivor of domestic violence, as opposed to being involved in a mutually combative relationship. We did hear from the experts to say that, there's this responsive violence that could have played into, been in effect in this case, and the jury determined that that wasn't the case either. So in the UK case, we don't know what evidence was presented there. I think her attorneys have alluded to the fact that there was a lot of evidence that didn't come into this case, and that would be the basis of their appeal. If I'm Amber Heard, instead of focusing on the Johnny Depp machine and how they got this verdict, what is that other evidence? What evidence do you have that we haven't heard that says that he was the primary aggressor in this relationship, as opposed to what we all saw play out in the 6 weeks of this trial?
Yeah, no, good point. We'll have to wait and see. Jenny Alcati, thank you for your valuable time and expertise. Really appreciate it this morning.